welcome to Thoughtscrew. As always, I'm Val. Today I'm going to be going over my adventures in the game Demon's Winter, as you might have seen in the preview from the last episode. If you didn't watch it, I did sort of an episode 0, which is sort of an explanation of the series and how it's going to work in the format. This will hopefully be all by the standard format that I had planned out in that one. So if you want, check that one out just to see what's going on here. If not, I'm going to jump right into it. Alright. Demon's Winter is an old, it's an old sort of top-down RPG, much in the style of a lot of old like TSR gold box RPGs. It was made by Strategic Simulations, which made a lot of really cool games. I should have written down some of them so I could tell you. They've made a lot of really kick-ass RPGs, some not so good ones too, but look them up. It was made in 1998, and I ran into it just flipping through old abandonware games, and that's where I ran into it, gave it a try. I liked, like a lot of good old games, it has great party creation, which grabbed me in. And for the record, I don't intend to do like a review type thing. I just, I want you to sort of understand the game. Obviously, I'm going to have to talk about the game and its mechanics a lot for you to understand kind of the stories. So, you make a party, and it just sort of throws you into the world like a lot of these old games do. What kept me with it was it had a really kick-ass combat system. It was top-down tactics style. It had two things that really drew me in. One is that the way it would generate the battlefield for you would hit a random encounter is it would literally just zoom the map into like the square you were standing on, and whatever pixels were on there just became the terrain in the fight. And it was really kick-ass if you were in a dungeon and you were just coming in a doorway, it would drop you in, and then to run away from the fight, you could run through the doorway you just came through. Like it would just have a line that says, exit to safety from one direction, and then the same thing on the other side, which was really neat. The sprites were okay, but the combat was really fast-paced, like it moved really good. Sometimes almost too fast, or like a lot of times I didn't even know what enemies were doing, because it was just bam, and then text scrolling, it was just attack, miss, one damage, bam, next person's turn. But it just goes to show you that a game even that old can have a great combat system and keep you in, which makes it kind of sad that you play a lot of newer like tactic-style games and they feel slow and clunky when a game from 1998 could really nail it down. Alright, so it took me a couple of tries to do well at Demon's Winter, because it spanked me. It is not an easy game. It's very unforgiving. Once your party members start dying, you start to get screwed. Like a lot of old games like this, you can bring people back to life. It's just very expensive. And if you haven't amassed a reasonable amount of money by the time your guys go down, it's not worth it to even bring them back. You almost have to start over. Especially because the cost to revive them gets more and more expensive. So I had to make a couple of parties before I got it right. What I nailed down was you need the game has like 10 classes, and I don't know what half of them do still. But you need a summoner. You need most of your party to be frontline guys, and you need a wizard that's your classic, just melting people's faces. So, my first party failed miserably, my second party failed miserably. This is the adventure of party number 3. My first two parties didn't even get to like the second town. So, this party I actually went through the game with. I did beat Demon's Winter. Don't always beat a lot of old RPGs. I just play until either the mechanics bog me down, or my characters die miserably, I get a game over, I really fall in love with my characters, and then I just get caught up with it. Or far more likely is you just stop knowing what's going on. It's got the Final Fantasy I syndrome. Go save the world. Is there a bad guy? There sure is. Any information? Do you know where his cat? Something? Write something down. Give me a map. Go save the world. Oh, come on, dude. I know you can say more than that. Go save the world. Fuck you. Off into the night to just beat up goblins until you happen to run into a cave like, aha, the villain. I've been waiting for you. You've been waiting like 6 years. I didn't even know where you were. Just been wandering aimlessly. I got here by accident. Trip on a rock, fall down a magic passage. Okay. I'm very easily sidetracked. Alright, so my party members now. I've got the papers here in front of me. I'm gonna put them in front of you, so if you see me reaching for them, you're about to get one of my drawings in your face. So I decided for my frontline characters, there was like fighters, monks, rogues, blah, 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 so on and so forth. And my original party had rogues in it. I never got much use out of them. I cannot tell the difference between the fighter class and the paladin class, other than paladins can take an ability called priest, which priests can also take. What I thought was that was going to give them holy magic, or maybe the ability to heal. I have no idea. You pick a god, and then what you can do is, while you're in the game, you always have the option, blah, blah, blah. pray to your God so you can be constantly reminded that your God doesn't listen. Anytime you're camping, have such and such pray. Your God isn't listening. Your God doesn't care. Your God's not paying attention. Very, very atheist promotional. It's very sad. So I had 2 frontline characters, and they were both paladins, and I named them Grunt A and Grunt B. That's all. I knew that was all they were going to be. I like to think, because of just how my party ended up being put together, and they're in front of you, you're seeing them, or you'll see them one at a time. The way my party got put together, I like to think that the rest of the gang just never learned their names. Grunt A and Grunt B served me very well. They handled a little bit different. Grunt A could land many attacks, and Grunt B hit really, really hard. Grunt B also got hit in the face a lot. He took a lot of hits, and it was just coincidence. He just always ended up right up in the enemy's grill. But I had some great. They were really good ass kickers. We had there was one point in the adventure where the party was running through this horrible, god-awful secret labyrinth. I walked into a wall, and it just like what I was looking at was top down, and you just see your character moving, and the sprites of the empty room. Well, I moved in, and then there was an open square of ground where I was, and then just brick all around me. And so I had to go. It took about an hour and a half. I had to map because you'd walk, and then wall. Okay, can I go north? No. Down. South? No. Left. South? No. Left. South? Yes. Okay. Down. And it was this insane. I had to map it out, and it was huge. It was much bigger than the actual dungeon, the secret area. And I got to the very end of it and just opened a door, and it was just, bam, special skeleton mage just comes out immediately, shit talks you. He had a sprite that I'd never seen before. The game has like 9 sprites, so the fact that he had a unique one was amazing. The last boss didn't have a unique sprite. He just had a palette swap. So this skeleton was pretty kick-ass. Anyway, skeleton comes out, skeleton soldiers, all is just skeleton army, a lot of skeletons in this game. Skeleton army, he was super cool. He ran up, just started smashing with his staff. Grunt A, just guess who's a paladin? Who? Bam! It was one of the coolest things. He just critted the coolest character in the game and just insta-killed them. That was Grunt A's like shining moment. Grunt B didn't get to do anything but get his teeth knocked in almost the entire campaign. I have at least one good story for every other character, except for poor Grunt B. He lived up to his name. Grunt A, I feel like by the end of the game I should have given him a name. Especially considering the circumstances of the ending. I'll get to that. Moving on with the party. So, the other 3 guys who each have their own drawings. I'm not sure who to show you first. Basically, when I was putting the party together, I wasn't sure what creatures to pick. They gave me the option of having a troll, so of course I was going to have a troll in there. And I kind of wanted to have a troll shaman, but I ended up just having a troll berserker, because I never do that. I normally like to play races kind of against against what they normally are, but I thought, you know what, why not? Let's have a troll, and let's just have him be the trolliest troll I can possibly make. So I had a troll named Katz, and there he is. Katz was a murderer, and not just like a berserker murderer. Like I don't know the game. There's no tutorials whatsoever. I have no idea in actuality what I don't know what makes a character good. I don't even know what individual stats do. I just know that Katz hit often and dodged a lot, which is not really what you expect of a berserker. He didn't actually do that much damage. He just dodged really well, which made a big difference. Everybody dodged good. There was a lot of misses in this game. Most of it feels like you're playing RuneScape, where it's just sort of this miss, early RuneScape. Anyway, so, and then the other 2 characters, I picked Drow. I just liked that the game allowed me to pick Drow, and I had this sort of idea in the back of my head of these just 2 crotchety old Drow along with the party. And the way I thought of it was, the story in the game is there's a big evil demon and sealed beneath the ground by ancient people, like it always is, and he's breaking free of his chains, and it's causing a horrible winter and turning the sea to blood and all kinds of other crazy shit that no one in the world seems to be aware of, because no one's even the least bit concerned about it. I like to think that Grunt A and Grunt B went on many adventures to try to deal with this beforehand, and their party members just kept getting slaughtered. And then just one night they're just at the pub drinking, like, man, we have to save the... Why is no one interested in saving the world? I talked to the pub keeper, and he tells me about goblins outside of town. The seas have become blood. Why isn't anyone concerned with this? The other grunt's like, I have no idea. I can't get my head around it. And, like, the bartender like brings him up a thing of ale, like, hey, those guys over there sent you a drink, and they're like, what? Just two old, miserable, wrinkly faced drow sitting in a corner. And I imagine Katz is their bodyguard. He's some sort of underdark creature that they paid him, maybe they enthralled him, maybe he's their friend. I have no idea. I don't like to think of Katz as the talkative type. He's just sort of like there, not grunty barbarian there, just sort of silent buddy, like running the fight. Everybody's fighting. Katz splits someone's skull. Thanks, Katz. Just a grunt and a thumbs up. Back to business. His intelligence was good. His stats were pretty decent, so he wasn't dumb. He just, I don't know. That's just how I imagine him. So, Gelkazar. Gelkazar is the main character. I didn't mean him to be. But no matter what, he was the character that just all the cool shit happened to. He was a warlock, which was the summoner class. So I spent most of that game, he spent most of that game dropping bears on people's heads. And I loved him. He was unhittable. No one could touch Gelkazar. There was nothing special to make him dodge-worthy. He had some kind of freaking magic. People never hit him. He right in the thick of combat, and he was always stabbing people. He landed hits left and right, which again, people dodge constantly, so it was a pretty rare thing. About halfway through the game, in a side dungeon, actually I think from that skeleton wizard, we got, there was a magic item, and it just said blue knife. And it's an old game, so blue knife, what could that mean? It could be anything. I had no idea what it was. I just knew Gelkazar could use knives, and he stabbed things a lot. So I gave it to him, and that was the beginning of the end for anyone who dared oppose us. Katz was dangerous. Grunt A and Grunt B were solid fighters. But when it came down to it, when we had a boss pinned, it was always Gelkazar that finished the job. Because it would be the party all around him, and he's trying to fight, but it's a tactics game. So we have a guy on every square, and then a bear, because Gelkazar summons bears. And eventually that bear goes away, and Gelkazar runs up, and we're missing, hitting, and Gelkazar just shank, hit, dead. Wipes the blood on his knee. And it helps that he's super old. I like to think people either are unsuspecting of how deadly he is, or that he just pretends to be a lot more, like, decrepit than he actually is. My favorite instance, because it was a very common thing for him to just, a fight happening, and he just comes up behind someone and just pulls him to the ground, just murdering people with whatever that blue knife was. I never found out what its enchantment was, because the game, I identified it. Tanook, the other wizard, had the ability to identify, and I used it on the knife, and it said, identified. That's all the information I got. There's no description when I examine the item, it just tells me the damage. It's just a blue knife, magical damage. Maybe it did magic damage? I am under the opinion that it let him hit ethereal targets. And here's why. There was a random encounter where it was just ghosts. And it was the weirdest thing in the world because I was in like a pirate area. There's like a pirate's cove. And it was a random encounter of just friggin' ghosts. And the ghost sprite is really silly looking. And so I can't imagine the party walking and then a bunch of just woo, because they did no damage. They may as well have just been going boogity, 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 boogity and wasting my time. But they were super hard to kill because they were almost impossible to hit because they're ghosts, I assume. You'd think with a ghost it would be either you can or you can't hit them, not you're less likely. But we carved through most of the ghosts. It took a really long time. But we got down to the last ghost. And actually, no, that's not true. We didn't carve through the ghosts. The other wizard blew them apart. Because he was a... I'll get to him. I'll get to Tanook. Anyway, we got down to the last ghost. The other wizard's out of mana. And it's all of my fighters just swinging. Just tired. Everybody's like not even wounded. There's no stamina. Just swinging lazily at this ghost. Just miss, miss, miss. Next. Miss, miss. Then the ghost... Miss, miss, one. The game really was very exciting, but every once in a while we had a thing like this. And I was like, you know what, Gelkazar, you always do well, run in there. And I had Gelkazar fighting before, and he wasn't hitting things even with his knife. So maybe it was just pure dodge chance. What I think happened was the ghost had a spell he could cast that made him harder to hit. I think. I don't know. I don't even know they had an effect on him. There's no way to. The game was just too primitive. But it was all of that, and then Gelkazar just fucking just stabs it through the heart. Normally damage in that game 1 is damage, 2 is good damage, 3 to 5 is like pretty juicy. He just did 15 damage. He just bam, just stuck his fist, knife and all, through a ghost's chest. It's the only way I can conceive of that happening. Bam, bam, ghost just... The rest of the party... Did he just punch a ghost in half? What happened? The other way... I'll get to the other way. The other wizard's not involved. I'll get to why. Anyway, just like 2 runs, like, what the fuck? Did you know he could do that? I didn't know he could do that. Cat's just... ghost in half. It's... I don't know. Maybe... It seemed really funny at the time. Maybe it's one of those things. The other cool thing that he could do is an ability called Power Leech, where you could steal mana from other wizards. And the closer you were, the better you were at it. I don't know how it worked. I really like to imagine... Because it was also really inaccurate. And it only worked well if you were point blank. I really like to think you just like, just fingers in their eyes and just drain mana out. The soul suck. I have no idea. But it's much funnier for me to think of, not funnier. It's just much cooler to me to think of them just like force lightning magic people, like, and just like energy flying out of their bodies. I should do a drawing of that. I don't know why I didn't do one for this video. I'll do one after it and then I'll post it up. I'll put it in the comments or something. Okay, so the other party member was Tanuk. Tanuk is blind. Of that, I am absolutely certain. Because he never hit anything the entire game. He didn't hit jack. And he got hit at least half the time. He couldn't dodge anything. Gelkazar was so good at dodging that I would run him in the front of the party. Because not wearing armor increases your dodge chance. So enemies would aggro on him and he'd just dodge around and play hot potato in the middle of a bunch of... I don't know how he did. I don't know what freaking awesome summoner voodoo he was doing to make him untouchable. But he was almost like a tank in that sense, that nothing could hit him. Tanuk, oh my goodness, Tanuk tripped on every rock, got hit by every enemy. He couldn't dodge a brick wall at a leisurely pace. It's nothing. I like to think that the occasion that he did dodge wasn't him dodging, it was just him fumbling around blindly, and cats would like kick a rock at the guy and like, ah, and the guy would miss, like, and it's just cats looking out, cats being a good bodyguard. It's the only reason I bet he dodged anything. What Tanuk could do was melt people's faces with the fiery vengeance of 1,000 suns. It was beautiful. Death Ray Hands. He was Death Ray Hands. When you choose your magic, there's a bunch of different categories, and one of them is just metal. It just said metal runes. No idea why. I don't know who with the element metal. I don't know. It was in Warriors of Virtue. Maybe it's good enough for wizards. So I picked metal. I was down for that. I've never seen a metal wizard before, but I was willing to see it in action. And there's another one that said spiritual, and I was like, it sounded like sort of Buffy debuffy magic. That was what I had in my head. And so I just took a crack. I'm like, whatever, spiritual. That turned out to be healing magic, and thank God I did that, because that is the only thing that kept us alive, was Tanuk's being able to heal people. But one of the cool things about that game is when you cast spells, it's not cast spell consumes this much mana. You would go to the spell you used, most of them. I honestly can't remember a single metal spell other than the spell sword. Spell sword, and that'll be my example. It would say cast sword. Yes. How much mana would you like to use? And you just have the option. And almost every spell works like that. Some of them have like a minimum. If you put too little, it'll just say you can't cast it that low. Try again. But you can always crank more to increase its effectiveness, or with some spells increase its chance. Which was nice. Way later on, that spiritual magic got me the resurrect spell, and oh, praise the whatever horrific deity Grunt A decided to worship, because that saved my life at the end of the game, is not having to spend all my money on reviving people. But anyway, the sword spell, any amount of mana, and it just translates that into damage, and which is pretty cool. I really like to imagine, because I would usually use like half his mana bar at a time. I would just burst it out on people and use them to blow up bosses and shit. So I like to imagine like everybody's fighting and blah 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 blah, and it'd be like, there's the boss, we got him. Tanuk, get him! And everybody just ducks, and Tanuk just magic, and it just shards of metal flying and just ripping someone apart. There was a point. Okay, there was a point where I had to fight a boss. It was an ice dragon. It was in this little area, and I had to fight him to get to a thing. The plot of the game is insane. But at one point, you have to get to an ice cavern to get to a pedestal, and you put a candle on it, and it melts a thing, and you get an orb and put it on that, and time travel and all kinds of shit that doesn't matter. But the point is, to do that, I had to fight an ice dragon, and Tanook had his full mana bar, and I could not have been happier when it was like, blah blah blah, are you ready? Oh no, the dragon stomps out from, nice description, stomps out, breathing its cold breath, and it drops me in the fight, and I see the dragon, he's got his own little sprite, I'm like, yeah, cool, that's the, out of the 10 sprites, he's got his own. I'm like, awesome. Everybody steps out of the way, pats Tanook on the back, and Tanook just insta-killed it. Blew a dragon in half. He was one of the, big game bosses, too, towards the end. The idea, I like utility mages. I like mages that do a variety of things. But there's something really special about just a living howitzer. Once a week, he can just rip a mountain in half, and the rest of the time he doesn't do anything. Because Tanook spent most of the game just sort of holding a big participation certificate, just, I'm here, hello. Holding his staff, getting hit by shit, until we got to something where I needed him to burst his whole mana bar down on. And, again, just shards, just ripping a dragon in half. What did that poor dragon expect? It came out and just saw four people, 4 schmucks, even knowing there's magic in the world. He's a dragon. Sometimes dragons are smart in things, sometimes they're not. Either way, worst case scenario, he expected a lightning bolt or a fireball or, one of the magic missiles, one of the mage mainstays, not just a shitstorm of just shrapnel and metal. That is horrific. Those are the big stories. So that was my party. That was my experience and party in Demon's Winter. I unfortunately there were so many good anecdotes about this game that sort of faded because I was so excited to get started on this. I started putting Demon's Winter was one of the first games I worked on for this series, and so it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, sadly. So a lot of the really good weird freaking stories kind of faded out. It was a really good game anyway, you should check it out. One of the funny things, I did a couple of drawings, some doodles at the end, just for sort of bonus material I doodled. Some of the sprites look really silly, and you're hearing me shuffle papers, you're probably looking at it already. Okay, so one of the weird things was, orcs looked like freaking jesters. I have no idea why. They just had this silly clown outfit with this big tassel. I think it was supposed to be a hat with horns, but it just looked like a tricorn cap, and there's no way it wasn't a jester stick. Maybe it was supposed to be a mace? I have no idea. They looked like jesters, and it was hilarious. Meanwhile, the freaking kobolds look badass. The kobold sprite was in, plate mail, decked. They looked like dark knights. Just heavy. And later on, I fought hobgoblins, and they looked like that, too. It's kind of funny that they left orcs out in the cold, but, kobolds got to look like just plate mail armored fiends, shields and swords and everything. They looked ready for war. That was a pretty cool thing. I like that there were snakes in the game, and they had their own, for some reason in this epic fantasy RPG, they had snakes in the game, and they had their own sprite. Maybe it was just because they needed a low-level enemy, and it only takes a couple of seconds to make a snake sprite, and just click, 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 click. Tongue. Snake. Oh, I should tell you, I'll tell you the ending of the game, just spoiler alert, you're ever gonna even... But find this game, play it. It's a good ride. You're not playing it for the story. So you go across these various places to find out what you're doing. That really is it. You're just trying to figure out what the goal is most of the game. And eventually you find out that the way to... There's a magic you have to use. There's a special, holy magic you have to use to put this demon, to lock his thing down. And the weird thing about it is, when it's explained to you in-game, that thing with the ice dragon, you beat him, you go behind... Oops, book's running away. You go behind a magic thing, you use an item, I can't remember. You walk through a wall, there's an altar, you put a magic scroll on it, and you get this vision from the gods, and they're like, you have to put Demon... I don't remember what his name is. Demon Mikilovich Murderstein back into his thing. We're gonna give you a magic spell, the magic spell that locks him down, and you're gonna go back in time, go to his chamber, and lock him down, and it's gonna be horrific, but you gotta do it. Who's gonna learn this magic? And I was like, I wanted to give it to Gelkazar, but I was like, you know what, let's give it to Tanook. He's not good for anything else. Put it on Tanook, and it says, you've been granted the God runes, which is, it's a category of magic, all this different spell, fire runes, metal runes, so on. That's how their magic is categorized. And so you've been granted the God Runes. One spell that lets you unseal... You have to unseal these gates to get into the island, otherwise it just doesn't let you in. And it's just busy work. There's nothing... It doesn't matter. And then you get the spell that locks him down, and it increases your MP by 100. To give you some perspective, I was at the end of the game, and Tanook had like 35 SP, and that was what he used to blow a dragon in half. So it just cranked. I almost wish it's like that late game. You kind of wish you could have enjoyed it the rest of the game. The end of you unlocked everything, and now you can blow everything up in one hit, but there's no point because you already beat it. And it's fair that way because if you'd gotten it earlier, you would have got bored. I don't know. It's just kind of sad. It was one of those moments you're like, oh man, all the people I want to go back and get vengeance on. I wanted to go back to that pirate town and just beat up all the people that bullied me. I wanted to go out to the desert and find that mob of 20 guys that jumped out of the sand dunes for whatever reason, a random encounter with 20 level 5 fighters. Which is high. You end the game at like level 6. That's just banana. I really wanted to go back and bully those people. I'm like, alright, let's finish this off. At least I'll have this cool demon battle. And you go there and you unlock all the things, and your boat. You have to buy a boat. It never tells you to buy a boat. At a certain point, you realize there's places you need to go that you need to be on the water for, and you just have to wander around till you find the town that sells a boat, and then go on the boat. That's another crazy thing that I did not expect. Is while I was out on the boat, there's boat encounters. You're like, boop, 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 and it's like, shit, pirates! What? And it's a whole different combat system. It's still top down, but it's just ready cannons, pick a direction, fire, and your cannon just flies sideways until it impacts something and does damage. Oh, that was amazing! Like, they bought... There's 10 sprites in the game, but they had a whole different combat system just for boat fights. I ended up just running from them all anyway. You have no way to know how much health your boat has, which is terrifying. So I just ran away from every fight with my boat, and it was really expensive to repair. Okay. Go to my boat adventure, blah, blah, blah. Get to the end of the thing, you walk up to the pedestal, and I'm like, okay, now I gotta do the thing to go back in time. And I walk up, and there's a pedestal. Cannot use pedestal. Activate. What do you... Going down the list of commands, touch, interact, use the scroll, use the unlock spell. What the fuck do you want me to do? I couldn't figure it out. I ended up going back... The world is pretty big, and I ended up going all the way back around the fucking world, back to that stupid ice thing, because of course it's in one corner and the Demon's Island's in the other. All the way back to like reread the text to see if I had figured out what was wrong, and no, it's the same thing. You gotta go back in time, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Fuck me, alright. All the way back as a long ship ride. I mean, out of game, it was about 10 minutes each way, which is pretty time consuming for a video game. I mean, it's nothing compared to like Skyrim, but that's fast travel. I just jumped to Skyrim. It's funny how that's replaced as the standard Bethesda game. I used to always say Morrowind. Anyway, all the way back there, and like, well, let's just try the spell that seals the demon. I was just trying anything. It was like an adventure game. I just pulled out my inventory and was like, use rock on pedestal. Nope, use weird stick. Use onk. Use this. Use that. Use that. Cannot. Oh, that was the right one. I'll never know why. It's whatever you would never have guessed. So I was just trying everything on it. I used the unlock spell and it says, or the spell that entombs the demon. It was just, congratulations, you entombed the demon. What? He's stuck there forever. He'll never get out of his volcano now. No, but I was supposed to go back in time and... Yay! Well, isn't he gonna... It said that he freed his bonds. Won't he just do it again later? Yay! Alright. And you get a little message from the gods like, thank you, you saved the everything, you're heroes of the whatever. And then it gives you the option, like, the gods literally ask your characters if you want to join them and... Oh no, not the gods. God, that's right. There's a whole thing about... There's one, like, forgotten god whose job it is to keep the demon down. And all the other gods are, like, fake or something, which would explain why it just makes fun of you for trying to pray to them. So you have the option of this god being like, would you like to join me and join my pantheon of the old gods and blah, 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 or stay on Earth and live your life. And I don't... Maybe if you hit stay on Earth, like, you get to, like, free roam, like, it lets you sandbox. I have no idea, but I did know that I was definitely going with option number one. The two paladins finally get their due, and Tanook and Gelkazar have lived long enough. And, I don't know, I like to think Cats wouldn't have chosen to go and be it just didn't seem in his character, but... Anyway, so we ascend, and it just gives you a message like, you ascend to the heavens and protect the world and blah 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 and become guardians of stuff you already were. It's such a weird ending, you know? Every D&D party has one freaking guy who wants to ascend to godhood, and he never does, and he's always a huge goddamn problem, and he's really annoying, and this game is his wet dream. You get to actually, the whole party just ascends for free, because we did an amount of menial labor over a couple of months. Godhood is a very easy thing in their world. Anyway, so that's Demon's Winter. It's a really good game. Again, I've said it like 3 times. You should check it out. I had a lot of fun. If you're a fan of old-style RPGs, it has a lot to offer. It was hard. It was very hard because I couldn't find any kind of guide on it. Because it's ancient, and a lot of those old games, people haven't played them anymore, and people who didn't bother writing walkthroughs and shit, like we do these days. It was challenging. Somebody, thank goodness, made a map, or just a little like bitmap document. That's just a little map of all like 5 of the dungeons, which was thank goodness for that. And it didn't, unfortunately, it didn't have that stupid side walk through walls puzzle that I spent an hour mapping out. I'll put that out. I'll post that for someone if you ever want to. If anybody plays that game, email me. I'll send you my map I made so that you can find your way around. I can spare you the misery of having to do that one brick at a time. Thanks for tuning in. This was Thoughtscrew. I'm Val. As always, send your hate mail to val0bliss@gmail.com. I don't know why I did sign language, but it's in the comments. Have a good night.